I had an otome addiction. Of course, we all know the Mystic Messenger game, which was like the gateway drug to like all these other types of otome games. I first started off with like Dangerous Fellows, and like if you guys play Dangerous Fellows, it's like a zombie type otome game where you're trying to survive. A lot of these games have that kind of premise where like they'll follow a storyline and you can pretty much just, like date any character you like. I think the appeal for me was that I wasn't going outside and I wasn't meeting anyone that I think that was what initially pulled me in. And soon after, it kind of turned into this addiction. And I say addiction because it took me a bit to realize it was. That's like the other thing that people don't realize is like how embarrassing it can be sometimes to tell people that, like, oh yeah, like I was addicted to playing ultimate games. Like, how do you even explain that? I was like in a very dark time in my life where I really didn't want to face reality and I didn't want to think about my current situation because it wasn't pretty. It wasn't just because I think it was just in general my situation was very sad and I didn't want to think about my feelings. So then I would use this as type of escapism where I would just play for hours on end. Sometimes I would stay up at night and just play. All my money, my time I was giving to these games. Like I had stopped working too. Whatever I had saved up, I would just spend on these games. I feel like at some point it kind of is like gambling effect where like you want the reward. There's always going to be a better answer and I'm going to want that better answer. So I'm going to pay for it so I can do it because I'm paying for this affection, this thing that I don't have. But I was so sucked into these games. Like after I finished Dangerous Fellows, I moved on to the next game. Like it's not like okay, you play one certain game. I mean, I did have my favorites. One of my favorite games was Obey Me, and like it's this game where you kind of date the seven deadly sins of demons, and I feel like that's so ironic. I was dating my demons, and I didn't want to face my own demons, but I digress. And I would be like so into these games because the appeal with Obey Me was that you were playing also a gacha game. You kind of gamble on your luck and see like what cards you get, and there's some certain cards that are more special than others, like, and there's certain events where like those cards are more high value and at stake. And I remember I would like be so ecstatic, like overly happy of getting like a very like high value card, and I would just be like, oh my mind, I'm just like so powerful at manifesting because that was the whole thing back then too. That added appeal of like the gacha thing is what really did not help my case with these otome games. And there was another one that did something like that, which was Ikemen Vampire, a game where you also date these characters that are historical figures turned into vampires. And the premise is like you go back in time somehow and you're stuck in this mansion with a whole bunch of these historical figures that are vampires, and like one of them catches your eyes. That's the route that you go play. That's another feature of this app, was that you get to dress your character and you are able to like get clothes. Some things like you get unlocked depending on like certain routes. The gacha thing, you kind of relied on that more because if you wanted to look good, like it's that whole thing of wanting to appear that you are stylish too. There's just so many added layers to it. If you think about it, these games sound kind of fun, you know, like they are supposed to be fun, but I feel like when you're in a very mentally and vulnerable space like I was at that time, it just can suck you in, and it can be very hard to get out of that because, like I said, you invest a lot of time in it, you invest a lot of energy, and if you're like me, you also invest a lot of money in it. That is very difficult to admit to people that, like, I spent probably over $100 of my savings and like what little I would get on these ultimate games, just to like have that illusion that you have a choice. I feel like in my life, I didn't have a lot of choice in a lot of things, and I felt very powerless, very helpless. And I think that's why I like these ultimate games, because they gave me that illusion of choice where I was in control of my life and how I was playing it. I didn't want to think about what was happening to me because it was just a lot of things. This aspect of like playing ultimate games is another part of my life that like I don't really acknowledge because it is kind of embarrassing to tell. It's already frowned upon to be having fictional crushes. But imagine actually going into these games and dating them, I feel like now it's a little bit more normalized to have these otome games because of the whole AI otome games. And I haven't played those because I don't really want to go back into that space again. I did play Mystic Messenger recently. Mystic Messenger was one of the games that I was not addicted to during my whole otome addiction, which was from 2020 to 2022, I want to say. 2023, I took my gap year, and that was the year I really focused on like myself and actually taking care of myself again and taking back my own autonomy in that way. So then I stopped naturally doing a lot of the bad habits that kept me in that loop. I have carpal tunnel, so like it was only really getting worse playing these games because I was constantly just on my phone going like this. Like I pushed away my emotions, I also pushed away the pain of feeling my carpal tunnel syndrome. I mean symptoms, because I did not want to like acknowledge that that was happening to me. Like my hands were healthy, completely healthy before, and I feel like I was very much denial that this was happening to me. These games kind of made me feel a bit less lonely because I would mostly play them at night. I found a lot of journal entries of myself. I remember being like, well, I spend my most time awake at night. I really enjoy like after 10 p.m. because I feel like I have time for myself. Reading that was very sad for me because I remember that time like I did not have a single moment for myself. I had to take care of my younger brother, which he was like around 3 at the time, and I did that for like at least 2 years, and I would have all these responsibilities. I had to like cook more, clean more for myself and him and my other sisters. And on top of that, I was also going to school, and so I was trying to focus on my education. There was just a lot of things that were piled on top of me that I feel like was all taking away from my time. Was giving myself away too much to other people that frankly didn't deserve it. I'm not saying my little brother didn't deserve it because like I love him so much. I'm just saying like it's a little unfair that I had to kind of strip away my time. Can you believe that actually went on for like 5 years? I feel otome games. I'm not saying like they're evil completely. Like anything that you do for a lot extended amount of time like that, like an obsessive amount of time, can be evil in a way, you know, like it can be evil towards yourself because you're hurting yourself at that point, like I was with these games. I feel like I had a lot of addictions, so the otome games was just one part of like my whole stash of things that I could rely on to just escape from my life. I feel like that says a lot about who I was in this moment of my life. I was able to kind of turn around a lot of those bad habits and those addictions I had by just really being honest with myself. Because, like I said, I was in very much denial of what was happening to me, and I would keep just repressing and like pushing down all these heavy emotions that I was feeling. Doing the work of just being honest with myself and trying to be serious about taking care of myself, I think it wasn't enough for me to just have that desire. I also wanted to genuinely believe and really trust in myself again. Because I was doing all these things, I felt like I had completely lost trust in myself because I was letting myself go, asking myself like, am I happy? Like, am I happy where I am right now? I think that really is what helped me sort of break away from this addiction. In my life, at least, I've seen it play out as a domino effect. I was able to knock down first domino of actually following through. Then it felt like all the rest of the dominoes were just kind of falling down one after the other. It just really all started with wanting better for myself and knowing that I deserved better. I didn't know what I deserved, but I knew that it was something that was not what I was experiencing. I feel like one after the other, all my addictions started to kind of fall apart because I had no more basis for it to go off of. My reason for playing these games was that illusion of choice and wanting to escape from my reality. But once I confronted the reality and accepted what I was living and started doing the work there, it became a lot easier for me to dismantle this obsession with these otome games. Like, I kid you not, I would have like 5 otome games downloaded on my phone at the same time and I would like play. Oh my god, I would literally like play one for a certain amount of time and then go to the other one, and I would get bored and I would play the other one, and like I would even like watch YouTube run throughs of like walkthroughs. They're called walkthroughs. And I would just be like, man, I wish I could do this route. Like I would wait for the routes to come out. Like if you played Ikemen Vampire, you'll understand that like for the longest time we did not have Osamu Dazai. Dazai. That's so dumb saying that. When it came out, I was like, yes, yes, finally, finally. But that was like at the very end where otome games had like barely a grasp on me. It was a little bit more enjoyable because I was a healthier version of myself, I would say. I did have favorites, you know, I did have favorite like otome games. Dangerous Fellows, first of all. Lucy Dream Games was onto some shit, okay? Like I was a fan of their otome games for a real long time. My favorite was Harry. No, not Harry. What the hell? I didn't like him. My favorite was Eugene, and then I really started liking Ethan when once they released that thing where we can actually chat with them. Like that was not a feature that wasn't there before. And I also played what's that other game? Mayday Memory. Dude, Mayday Memory was my shit. I remember when they released that app and like, oh my god, it was so expensive, but I'm telling you, I was so sucked into it. I spent that money and I remember people complaining how expensive it was, like to even get a good choice. I feel like I didn't care because I was like desperate to get some of that attention too. Like, I feel like I was like getting enough. My favorite was Hansel in that route. Oh my god, I had the biggest crush on him for a long ass time. Dude, I remember it was actually really good and the music was phenomenal. I think about it from like retrospect, going back to it and seeing like the premise of it, like the storyline, it's just like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember it was actually really good storyline. The characters were funny. MC was really funny. Like Ultimate Games, if you play a lot of them, you kind of notice like certain MCs are like written very poorly. It's like I would never say this. What the hell? And I also played Havenless, which is from the same company. I didn't like that one that much, although I did think two of their characters look like Lance and Keith from Voltron. Actually, I played Ikeme Sengoku, but I didn't really like that one. I also played like this one specific game had a selection of stories that you can just click on and just play the routes. I remember that was the one where I noticed it was becoming an addiction for me. One of like the first games I actually spent a lot of money on. And it was that one, and then there was the other one where it was like an anime style too, but it was more modern and the characters would kind of like sometimes move, you know, like they'd be like that, like almost AI, but like before AI. Like they had stories where you could date guys. You could also date girls, or there was like gay stories where you're a man and you date another gay man, and you know, be who you are for your friend. Anyways, I spent a lot of money on those. I think they were like rubies. I'm like thinking about it, it's traumatizing low key because the money thing and like how emotionally invested I was in it. Actually found the two otome games that I said I actually played. One of them wasn't super hard to find because I had screenshots of it, and look, so it's called Love 365, and you would play like it literally did have that much stories, and you could just play whichever one you wanted, and like each storyline would have its own thing going on, and like to be honest, some of them were more boring than the others and some of them were like really sucked. But I remember I really liked a specific story, the Mad Hatter story. Like if you know this, you are entitled to financial compensation, dude. I swear to god, like yikes. If you fucking remember this ad being everywhere, you also deserve financial compensation. I'll show you right now. I'm literally getting chills as I speak, dude. I'm literally getting chills. Like, I got my whole carpal tunnel thingy. Oh my god. Maybe. The app was called Maybe, dude. And like, I found out that they actually terminated like their service just this year, February 25th. But I found their Instagram and I saw this ad and I'm like, this is the game I played. I played this one too. I saw this and I was like, you, bruh. This specific story, I feel traumatized. What the hell? I played. What was it? Oh my god, I'm gonna switch it up. Keeper of Mine, dude. Who else played this? My favorite was Kant. Obviously, look at him. but like very good quality games. Like I remember I played quite a few stories off the Maybe app, but it no longer exists. Do the stories like they just no longer exist? Like that's kind of sad, you know, like all that work that was put into those games and then it just kind of disappears, which is kind of like okay, R.I.P. But like, good, the chokehold this game had on me, dude. I wish it on not even my worst enemy, dude. So many. I'm like thinking about it and getting scared again. I'm scared. Obey Me? Oh my god. That was like the last otome game I played before I realized it was an addiction. Like I played the story a little bit, but then at some point I was just like, I don't care. And you would have events, and in these events you could play these special stories. And I remember being really into that. Oh my god, when they released the anime, do you guys remember that when Obey Me released their anime? I was like screaming, crying, throwing up. If in case you're wondering, my favorite Obey Me characters was I don't want to say it. He was my favorite. I had a thing for blonde guys in these ultimate games. Like I would almost always gravitate towards the blonde guy. Okay, editing Mel here. I feel like I forgot to say a lot of freaking ultimate games that I actually played. So I'm gonna tell you like straight up. Mr. Love Queen's Choice. I tried playing that game. Yeah, I watched the anime for this, which was really good. I'm not gonna lie. And I played like half of it, halfway through it, and then I kind of gave up. The Arcana. Oh my god. This game. Nah. It was so good that like I was like trapped here for weeks playing this game, especially because of the whole weekly tarot option. Another one of my escapist tendencies, dude. Stop. With Obey Me, like people would do imagines. That's the other thing. I would read imagines and fanfiction of these characters. Like if that wasn't enough for me to play the game, I was also looking for additional content to consume. Like that's literally insane. I found walkthroughs of these games on YouTube. A single episode will take about 30 minutes long. I'm not even joking. 30 minutes. I was literally like going through these episodes like I was on crack, because as soon as I finished one route I would go for the next one. Like, I think the only time I didn't really do that was for the Maybe apps, because they had so many games, so I would just pick two and then just roll with that. But like on the other apps, like Dangerous Fellows for example, I played all the routes. It's been a recent revelation where I feel like I've been asleep for like 5 years since 2020, and I just barely woke up. I've just been barely waking up, barely coming back to my senses. I feel like this year I really got in touch with myself, the me before 2020. There's like a specific time in my life where I remember the exact moment where time just stopped being important to me. You know, I stopped feeling the passage of time. At some point, I couldn't feel it at all. It was 10 p.m. and I knew I had to sleep, but I was like, one more game, one more episode, and one more would turn into like 5 more, 10 more, and then suddenly it was 4 in the morning and I was hearing the birds chirping. The dread that I would feel knowing that like I had like lost all self-control, it's awful, dude. I told myself like I stopped reading, but like honestly the amount of reading I was doing for these otome games, PhD in otome games. But I tell you right now, my life is definitely not the same as it was back then. I don't have a lot of these coping mechanisms anymore. I changed them, and I definitely do care a lot about myself now. Okay, bye. I think I might end it here and then maybe film the outro later. Bye!